5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're straight foot on the brake.
In-depth race recaps.
Coming to the line, Ryan Blaney's gonna do it!
Pit stops and strategy breakdown.
Way to stick with it, buddy. Proud of you. Yeah, man, really good quality in there. Good job.
Fantasy racing results and insights.
Hey, driver, great job there, bud. Hey, boss.
Your weekly destination for everything Ryan Blaney and Team 12.
Looking forward to seeing you down the victory lane.
This is the Team Blaney podcast.
I'm still Team Blaney.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 222 of the Team Blaney podcast. My name is Adam Rogers, and alongside me is co-host Steve Mez. This week, we're here to break down Ryan Blaney's top 10 run in the Cookout 400 at Martinsville Speedway. Steve, welcome back to another episode, and from what I understand, you just got off the road from your trip back from Martinsville Speedway. We'll talk about the race and everything that happened there, but how was your trip? I know it's one of your you and Kate's favorite tracks.
Yeah, we always, as a matter of fact, lately it's been a trip to Northern Virginia there to Roanoke. We got a nice hotel in Roanoke. Roanoke's about an hour north of the track. Just wonderful little setup getting in and out and to get into the track and everything. And the trip went really well. Weather didn't really get in the way of it. It was a little cold Saturday, although people got sunburned Saturday. Chelsea. And actually, we caught a little bit of sun yesterday. So even though the temperature wasn't real hot, the sun was pretty good down there in Virginia. So, yeah, overall, the trip itself was awesome. It was and the weekend went pretty good for the most part, considering what we saw in the race.
Yeah, it was one of those weekends where we're leading into it. We've just come off of two races where, especially when we start to talk about practice, where the 12 car that you see in practice wasn't necessarily what showed up in the race. And I made the joke to you, like, so are we hoping that they seem off like in this practice session, or what are we looking forward to? But things worked out okay. The NASCAR Riley Auto Parts Series race I thought was decent all the way up till the end when the typical Martinsville shenanigans kind of showed up for that series, and it seemed like the last 30 laps took like an hour and a half to finish or something like that. But
yeah.
Future NASCAR Hall of Famer Justin Allgaier went to victory lane in that one. So
yeah, nice.
That was fun to see.
Nice tweet on that, by the way. I think you caught. Has anybody seen him? And
he did respond right away too. And I was like, oh man, I was hoping to get that under the radar, but he got the app right away. So that was
good. That's good. I had a tweet like that on Sunday with the Cookout. I don't know if you saw that or not. The Cookout's mascot is this milkshake, basically, and it's down there on the start finish line for the gentleman start your engines part. And I snapped a picture real quick and said, Chasm, is that you? He goes, I hope someday. He responded right away too. He's like, someday I hope to. And then the NASCAR, the Charlotte mascot, Twitter responded too that they say that Chasm, they nominate Chasm for any chance at being a mascot somewhere. So that's kind of cool. That was funny. Yes, Saturday, the only thing I kind of caught a little bit of at the end of that race was Raja, because I had Josh's scanner on, and Raja ended up in a little bit of a tussle, and then he got punted too. So, and I guess that ended up being a storyline after the race. But the in-car camera, the audio from it was interesting, because Raja right away asked Josh, if he should have done something different here or there. So did he get used up? That was kind of cool, because that's part of what Josh is doing with that series anyway, is helping these younger guys. And Raja didn't want to fight anybody afterward. He asked a question if he was at fault, which is unusual too. A lot of these younger guys want to fight somebody. They think it was their fault, not my fault, So right away he wanted to know before he went talking to anybody if it was him or not. And I don't know, it didn't really look like they got into a heated discussion, did it?
No, and honestly, it was an example of the adults acting like children, I think, in this case, because the Jesse Love's crew chief, Danny Stockman, actually is the one that immediately went over to Raja as he's getting out of the car, and Raja has all his stuff on, his ear, he's got his earplugs in, his helmet on, and Denny Stockman's telling him, he better buckle his seatbelts for, next week, basically. And Raja's like, hold on, I can't hear you. I have to get my stuff off. And they talk for like a minute, and then Jesse Love pulls him aside, like, let's go somewhere else. And they talked. And I think those two have a pretty decent relationship. And I think like with a lot of guys, and you'll see that in an incident that happens in the Cup race too. Sometimes the aggression of the moment kind of just takes over, and you forget about what's at stake. And I guess even Dale Jr. went over and talked to Raja after the race as well, and kind of reminded him like, hey, especially in the situation he's in where he's splitting his full season between a really, really good team and an okay team. Right. You got to maximize points. And he's saying, every point, told him like every point matters. And you got to, kind of keep your head in the game in these situations. So for a young guy, lesson learned. And like I said, he's got a perfect spotter for him to kind of guide him through that process early on in his career. So I won't talk to you too much about hot dogs, but I do want to practice and how things went.
Kate played it smart. She had 4, 2 Saturday, right. two Saturday, 2 Sunday, all the way. She says, if you're not getting them all the way, she says you're not getting a Martinsville hot dog. Yeah,
I saw that nonsense that Jordan Bianchi posted. I guess in the media center they did like a build your own situation, and he didn't build his all the way. And I question whether or not he really even ate a Martinsville hot dog at that point. Yeah. So
they have a fried bologna sandwich there that's to die for.
All right,
nice thick cut of fried bologna, and I go for that now every time I'm there. I got to get one of those. Just fried bologna, some cheese. They got toppings there. You can put toppings on or whatever you want, but you don't get the thick cut fried bologna too often anywhere. That's kind of like a specialty. You don't see that in the restaurant, So Saturday practice, we got there. We kind of go down to, before we hit the practice, we of course you got to go through the fan zone. We go visit Dez over at the her hauler. He was at the 88 and the 87 actually, right? No, 97. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool. Of course, her new little doggy was all bundled up somewhere in a corner. She didn't want to bring her out because it was too cold. But if you ever get a chance to do that, make sure you go visit her, get a picture. If you're a TikTok person, she's on TikTok, and she will literally during the week give you when they get there and then set up. And then there's actually a video that she puts out on TikTok every week that shows all the appearances, what times they are. She walks to everybody's trailer and gets a picture of everybody's board. It's going to be at 12:15, 11:45. Do you need to get a wristband? Do you need to make a purchase? All those things. So she does that every week for everybody, basically. And so if you're going to a race, you want to follow her on TikTok, and she'll give you all the fan zone information that you can handle. So, and then she likes to do a fan vote during the week and see if you want a specific hauler, and they'll show you all the merchandise they have there. So we got settled in, got our food, settled in to watch practice, and the practices, really to me are kind of weird. The first group, the 23 was the fastest car, and he was a 19.685. And then the second group comes out, and they do the same thing every time at Martinsville. It just takes forever to wind up because they want to space out. They don't want to be behind anybody. They don't want to get, their lap messed up. And I don't know how NASCAR figures out, because it's green flag and they start coming out. And like I said, I don't know when NASCAR actually starts keeping track of it, because really, truthfully, first 4 or 5 laps, they were just kind of puttering around. And Ryan was behind the 45, and he was just kind of behind him, and they didn't look like they had taken off yet. And finally, they do kind of take off. And for a while there, it just looked like they were following the 45 to just like check him out. Like, let's see what this guy's doing. Maybe they're doing something special, And it was kind of interesting that they kind of followed them, but I don't think they were really following them. They were literally gaining on them. And the thing about Martinsville is when you're gaining on somebody, you're gaining on them half a tenth a lap, maybe a tenth a lap. And it doesn't look like much. You got to watch 5 or 6 consecutive laps to see as they go, But as it goes, his individual lap was 13th overall between the 2 sessions. which is 0.088 back of that 23 car. And the 54 car was the fastest car in the second session, and he was only 0.016 back of the 23. So, really close times because they're a really short area. But when you get to 20 lap average, Ryan was P1. You get to 25 lap average, P2, and the 5 was P1. 30 lap average, P2, 5, P1. He runs 69 laps, so they ran the whole thing. And like I've said this before about practice with those guys, if they run it out, they know what they have and they know what adjustments they can make. If they don't run it out and they come in 2 or 3 times, well, they have to try some different things. And that's usually not always great, but we know that that Jonathan knows what he wants to do, figure it out. But when they run a full thing like that, they get a good read on tires by doing that. They get a good read on fuel by doing that. So it pretty productive session heading into Sunday.
And like I said, I was worried. I mean, no, completely different tracks, but it was we kind of just saw what we usually see: the long run speed out of the 12 car. You saw the 5 seeming like they're setting up to have a potentially dominant or at least a shot at the win, but he had a really quiet race, I thought. And then the 23, I mean, I think the 23s maybe expectations were a little bit too high because of the group that he went out in, but I think he thought he was going to have a really great race too. And we might talk about how things went for him. So now I was just focused on qualifying because last times at this track, 30 plus in qualifying, not necessarily a great history of starting up front either. So, and as I'll continue to say all the time, outside of maybe road course races, every point matters so much in this format. And if you can qualify, I set my bar for him because how good he can pass at top 15. Top 10 is really where you want to be. But for Ryan, if he can qualify in the top 15, normally he can race his way up into the middle of the top 10 by the first stage, and then front half contending for a win by the second stage and picking up those points. So how did qualifying go this week? Yeah,
he goes out he goes out second to last for qualifying. So that's kind of one of those things where pretty much where you're going to be when you're done. But early into the thing, the 21 puts up a great qualifying time. The 2, the 22, they all put up pretty decent qualifying times. So when you get down to it, you think, well, it should be better at least, and it ends up qualifying 12th. They ran 2 laps. Some of the guys ran 1 lap. They capped it off. It was interesting because cars like the 97 actually put up a really good lap and put themselves up in there. So, it was pretty decent compared to the fall. It was excellent. The 11 getting the pole was interesting because in practice he really wasn't a main player in practice. And once again, practice versus qualifying is such a different thing anymore. And we know with Ryan, it's not really where you qualify, it's how well you practiced. And we know that if he practices good, he'll make up the positions early in the race. But he got up in there and got himself to 12. So I thought, well, okay, now the race should be real good because he won't have to worry about passing 29 guys like he did.
Just got to keep it up there. Yep.
Yeah. There's actually that gets us to Sunday's thing, because Sunday when we got there, I go to the tweet up if I can, and Jordan and Jeff are there, and then they brought Bozy, and their first guest they had, though, actually the guest was Gilliland. He pulls up, he walks over. And it was just so funny because he was there almost 20 minutes, half an hour. Just, he did autograph things. Right away people want to do autographs, but just standing there in the little groups like everybody does and talking to everybody. I kind of commandeered Bozy early on because I knew who he was before he even got introduced. I started talking to him. Then Jeff made sure he introduced him. Then a couple other people might have ran over. But then when that broke up a little bit, I went back over and talked to him some more because really wanted to just kind of learn some of the things and see, because this year you notice he's doing a lot more online. So I think he said that there's some setup for him or pathway for him to do some stuff with Dirty Mo Media. Not sure what and how yet. Not sure if it's going to be a podcast. Not sure if it's going to be shorts or whatnot. But on Twitter, for sure, he showed up this year and done a lot more analytics. So I asked him first off about this whole pit stop timing thing, and he is literally taking times and adjusting them. He says that certain organizations have their own analytics companies they deal with and do their own timing. So Hendrick, it might be running from a different company than Gibbs does. Gibbs might be running from a different company than Penske does, and that's why you hear all kinds of different times. He says the NASCAR timing is a in-the-box and out-of-the-box timing. He doesn't really want that. He's trying to do a timing, and this is what the teams use, of maybe peg to peg, where once the jack is under the right-hand side, and then once the jack is dropped on the left-hand side. So he's trying to do something to organize all of the companies, or maybe organize all the teams to maybe get to a central number, because it's so funny. You hear, fastest stop, or they did this stop in this time. But the truth is, if one of the other analytics companies did it, it probably wouldn't be the same time. So until they get them all under one timing system or one scoring system, it's still not going to be right. He is actually working on trying to get them to get organized and do that, though. So I definitely find it interesting that he's doing his own adjustment. So I'm going to try and use his adjustments whenever I can now when I do the thing. It seems to be like a second faster than what the NASCAR app is saying, a second to maybe an eighth of 1/8 of a second faster. So somewhere in that range. So we might do our little adjustments from here on in too, because 10 seconds sounds, NASCAR's app says 10 seconds, but it's not actually 10, it's 9 something. And that's where you wanted to be to begin with. And you hope to get to the 8s consistently, and that's where we're working towards. So I asked him a question about because what's interesting is he was there Saturday. He did media on Saturday, and he actually asked Ryan questions Saturday, which I'm sure that Twitter, and I know you retweeted some of those. That's the interview.
Yeah, and I was really glad the way he asked that stuff, because he came to him with specifics, so it was kind of
right.
Nice.
Yeah, he kind of asked it in a way where here are some ideas or thoughts, and what do you think about them? Not just it's bad or it's good or or this is what I think or anything like that. So yeah, he did ask good questions. I asked him a question based on some things we've seen about the Jackman, right? So I says, how does he decide when to drop the jack at the end of the stop? Does he look left and look right? Or does he look just left? Or does he look just right? He says that fast time that, the 20 team put together, he says that Jackman never looked either direction. He just dropped it. He hoped that they had it. So that tells you, he says, if you look left and you look right, you've already wasted almost a second. And that's the thing, is like everybody was blaming the Jackman on this or the Jackman on that, but the reality is he's timing in his head and timing with what he's done and hoping that everybody's where they need to be. And that's probably got to be the key. We might not be the Jackman all the time, and I don't want to point any fingers on that kind of thing, but I did ask that question. He answered it. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him in the future too. I kind of like to talk to him, and he said something about maybe, we might be able to have him at one point. Hopefully something pertinent or comes up, or maybe we'll just do an interview. I don't know yet. I'm working on that part of it. But he was great to talk to. He was there the whole time. Jeff loves to point me out at certain points. Like we'll all be standing in a grouping, and Jordan will have another grouping over there, and whatever other little groups are broken off. But Ryan's name comes up, and then he points over to me, and he goes, "Oh, there's our Blaney guy over here." And the thing that was funny is he was asking about the fall versus the spring, and I says, yeah, I mean, I don't really understand if it's just weather, because sometimes I think that it's that, because I mean, they're most of the spring races are usually cold. There was one that was a night race a couple of years ago. It was freezing. or, I couldn't come up with anything else, but I did say to him, I says, look, they qualified 12th yesterday. And if you remember the fall last year, they qualified 30th. And of course, they qualified 30th and were running in the top 2 or 3 by the end of the first stage. But, this year, but the spring races are 100 laps shorter too. So he's already moved himself up and doesn't have to go as far. So, of course, I give the optimistic answer that I normally would in that situation. So, that went pretty good. It was kind of interesting because Jeff and Jordan came a lot earlier. We ran it at like 11 a.m. and I think usually they go a little later. But by being at 11 a.m., it gave them a longer time to be there too. And the groups kind of broke down by that point. And what was the one gentleman I met? It was Speedway. Oh, dang it. I forgot his thing. Well, anyway, he's a gentleman that went to all the races last year, mostly in a camper. They did fly to Mexico City and then fly back to the camper, but went to all 38 events last year. So we'll have to link them up somehow. And they have a TikTok, and he said he'll get with us about doing some things with that in the future too. So that was kind of cool too. So yeah, that's my productive part of the day. Talking with the media and so forth and learning what I can from those guys. So we get to the race itself. We get up to the stands early. I did a live on TikTok of just the driver intros. Kind of want people to go ahead and see what the driver intros look like there now that they're different.
Yeah.
Make a comment. Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's been. I think if people follow Mamba Smith on Twitter, he kind of made an announcement. Most of the NASCAR owned tracks, which Martinsville is one of them, he would always do the driver intro. So he's the guy that he had that. He called himself the chief hype officer. He's also a co-host on Kevin Harvick's podcast, so people probably know him from that. But he does the driver intros at all the NASCAR tracks and does a really good job of it. Feeds off the DJ, feeds off the crowd. He knows a lot of the drivers personally. He's friends with some of them. He has beefs with some others because he's very open. I don't want to say open-minded. He's very opinionated on social media, so that rubs some people the wrong way too. But he's always done a really great job. But he mentioned that his contract doing that kind of ended. So and he was kind of flooded with people kind of being disappointed about that. And I know you're interested to see what they would do with that. And I'm guessing they kind of just did the generic whoever they hired that week or someone from the track probably just said the names and that was about it. So
it was automated.
Yeah.
DJ was playing it, and then there was, I don't know if somebody's hitting a button for each soundbite, but it was just an automated voice with with his picture coming up on the driver's picture coming up on the screen up above on the on the video board that they have, and they opened the door. There was a door. They opened the door. They had a shooting the smoke out kind of a thing, and then they walked out, and then that was it. I think, who was it? One of the guys came out and tried to high five the DJ because he was just like, this is normally what I do here. He had like 36 drivers, and he probably had about 20 different routines with guys, ones who wanted to do something. He would do little things with. So it was kind of disappointing in a way because you missed that. Him and AJ had something, and him and Cindric had something. They all had something. Him and Ryan the one year played rock paper scissors every time out. Had a running contest. So yeah, I did that. It was kind of cool. A lot of people joined in, and I did that like kind of unannounced, and it was probably 100 plus people in about 30 seconds that were there to watch it. That's cool. I try to do that if I can. So the race itself, stages of 80, 180, and 400, 9 sets of tires, a fuel run that says a 175 to 190, pit stall 18. Yes. Thank you, Jonathan Hassler. You picked the pit stall somewhere near in front of where I was sitting. I'll try to put a video or two up in the next day or two too. Some great videos of the guys. The pit stops were excellent over the day. And he had picked a pit stall right there where I could see everything. 51 in front of him, the 8 behind him, which works out excellent too because they're both, I think they're both down a lap by the time the first pit stop comes around. So they don't have anybody to worry about going in and around. Kind of cool. It's like, I think the 7 was up like 2-3 spaces, but the 9 was literally like two 2 spots behind them, which was great because they got kind of like a couple times where they were competing with them and doing pretty well against them. So the initial start, we start in the outside line, P12, and by lap 6, we get to the low lane, which is what you want to try to do, get single file as soon as you can. Then you make most of your passes, for the most part, underneath somebody. You bump them once or twice to let them know you're faster, and then you get underneath them. By lap 8, we clear the 9 to get to P11. At lap 12, passing the 20 to get to 10th. At lap 14, passing the 77 to get to 9th. At lap 18, passing the 45 to get to 8th. At lap, spend a ton of laps here behind the 22 trying to get by lappers. Now, that's the other thing about Martinsville racing that maybe TV sort of covers, but being there live is a big difference. Is you see the lap traffic, you can look at where the leader is and how he's doing with it, and then how you get through it. And sometimes you gain half a second to a second within 30 laps, just based on the fact that you got by somebody faster than they did. At lap 78, literally right before the end of the caution, we get this right before the end of the stage, we get this caution for the 51. I don't know what the heck was going on there. So we get to the end of the stage. The 11 wins the stage, Ryan's P8. So we got the stage points.
Yep.
Moved up a little bit. And 4-tire stop here. And I think it was like a 10.7. That's what we got estimated here. And only one car beats him off pit road. That's another thing. That stop was not bad as compared to the other stops. And it was the 45, and the 45 did like an 8.88 stop. So that's where, and they get down to times like that as the race goes on. So we're in good shape here. P9 for the restart with the 11 leading. Restarting lap 96 from the inside lane behind the 97 with the 22 are outside. And the next bunch of laps, it's literally the 97 and the 20 going toe-to-toe in front of us as we're P10. And at lap 104, we get past the 20 to get to P9. At lap 105, we get a caution for the 4 with the 16 involved. At lap 113, there's a restart from the bottom lane, P9. And the 54 and the 11 are up front. The reason I point that out is they do the restart okie dokie where they, pick the other lane, and then he lets the 11, lets the 11 get by him, but then he gets to be P2. So at lap 114, passing the 23 to get to 9th. At lap 116, passing the 21 on the outside to get to P8. That's so cool to see at Martinsville. You do not see that every day. He got to his, what would be 21's right rear going into 1 or 2, and the next thing you know, he's out and around him.
Yeah, and he does this a few times during the race, and you could see it's like he knows he's faster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and Barry's just, he's just a good short track racer. He knows how to defend the bottom and the turns, and they're both running the same equipment. Maybe setup wise, it's a little bit different, but yeah, I think he bumped him a couple of times too along the run to just see if he would kind of get up and get out of the way. And he's like, okay, yeah, I've passed on the outside here before. Yeah. And that was really cool to see, because he does this even down the stretch and in some other kind of crucial situations. He uses the outside as a tool to pass.
Well, that's the thing is sometimes it can be done, and we're going to find out later that it can be done when the car in front of that car is a little too slow to begin with, and you can kind of pin a guy. So he gets to P8 there at lap 117, passing the 97 to get to 7th. At lap 124, passing the 45 to get to 6th. At lap 131, passes the 24 to get to 5th. At lap 177, passes the 2 car to get to P4.
Now, did you from the grandstand see the pass on the 97 by chance?
He wiggled him. He wiggled him a couple times.
Yeah,
he had to.
Wiggled is a very nice description.
Yes.
Well, because he tried to warn, the 21. He tried to warn him a few times, and then I think
there was a situation earlier on in that run when it was the 2097 battling in front of, and the 97 moved the 20 up, and Ryan actually got below them for a second, and it was bottom of 3, and then kind of thought better of it, I don't want to make a mess here or be in the middle of a mess. So that's when he just kind of went back below him. But then, like I said, Ryan will do this. If he can get you in the corner and bump you in the corner, and then maybe get to you a second time and bump you within a lap or two, you have to give it up. If you do not, he will then have to bump you harder. But what bumping you is, to me, what it says is, if I can gain on you in the corner, I'm faster than you. If I can actually literally get to you in the corner, I'm faster than you. So that's the way a lot of these guys judge that, actually. So lap 180 here, the 11 wins the stage. Ryan P4, pretty good. We do a pit stop here that's a 9.20. Extremely competitive with everybody down pit road. In P4, off P4, they discuss on the radio here a one stop and a two stop strategy and how kind of would break down. Like might pit at laps 75 laps into the run or 100 laps into the run to break it up into two, just to kind of like put that in everybody's mind to what we might be doing.
And this is good to bring up because you'll see this with Chase Elliott. They end up attempting the two stop, and they didn't. It doesn't get to play out, unfortunately, especially for us. But yeah, that's kind of the strategies those guys are kind of looking at.
Yeah. When we get to that, let's say something about his crew chief on that. Yeah. So we restart lap 193 here. The 11 leads. Ryan takes the bottom, and he loses a row for the bottom on this. It's one of those things that you want to be in that bottom row to begin with, and if the momentum of the row moves properly, you should be in good shape. So by lap 195 here, we clear the 2 car to get to 4th. At lap 211, passing the 22 to get to 3rd. At lap 257, passing the 54 on the outside again. I've had enough of this guy, and just gets by him, pins him. Literally, I think the 47 was the car in the way. Literally, the 47 is running the same lane. The 54 can't quite get to him, can't get past him. Ryan's faster than both of them. He pins that 54 there, gets by him, gets to the 54, gets to the 47, even the lapper, and passes him even. So at lap 260 is when the 9 pits. And this is that 2-stop strategy. And, in the post-race, everybody is praising the crew chief, right? And it is a great call at this point in time. But what ends up happening within all this is the horseshoe, basically. He finds the horseshoe. It was buried there, and they found it. And that's the thing that's funny is these calls by these guys, there is all the data that tells them to do it this way or that way, all the data that says that the tire fall off is this much, and maybe it's better to do it now and not now. But a caution throws a lot of the data out the window, and the caution that later falls within all this really falls their direction. It really helps them, and everybody else has to get tires at that point because it fell late enough after a pit stop that everybody else had to still come in and get tires. So it put them all back onto the same thing. But at this point, he's behind, but then he ends up being out front because of what other guys when they pit.
Yeah, and their idea is that they'll do 2 stops instead of the 1 because what we've seen at Martinsville before, and I think Truex won a race doing this at Martinsville in the past, is they'll pit again when everybody else has already made their stop later on. So they'll pit that second time, come out with fresh tires, unlap themselves pretty quickly, and then get back. And then the goal is to get back around and either finish as high as you can or potentially win. I will say with one thing we didn't really talk about was this was another race that had this high anticipation for tire wear and fall off because of the higher horsepower. And outside of what I think maybe how that has impacted Ryan's ability maybe early on and how they had to adapt to those changes. I personally wish maybe there weren't any changes because I feel like his car was even better under the old package. We didn't really see that. So I don't know that if there was no caution and everything played out, that it would have been a winning call for the 9. But what his crew chief said after the race was they're running in the back half of the top 10. And he said, we could have just sat there and done that and finished that way, or we could have tried something to try and win the race. And there's 2 good things that could happen. They could run several laps like they did and then have a caution come out, which is the least likely thing to happen, but would be a huge bonus if it did, or that it plays out and they stop that second time, get the fresh tires and see where they can drive too. So those were kind of the 2 options with that strategy. And yeah, it's the horseshoe because Ryan's been lucky in the last couple of years to catch some good cautions. This year, though, he was bitten by that one. I think it was Las Vegas, where they short pitted a little bit and got trapped by a bad caution. So. I'll be interested when you'll talk about this and then get up to what was happening before this caution comes out, because I think some things were trending in a really, really good direction.
Good direction, yeah. So, we're at P2 when all this is starting, and we're gaining. We literally are gaining on the leader. We're gaining on the 11. People online, I know on Twitter stuff are saying, here's the only guy who compete with him all day, and here he comes. And, it was, like half a tenth to a tenth. Getting through traffic better than, and the longer the run went, the closer and closer he got to him. So, it was only like, it's 2.5 to 3 seconds he was only behind him when they go ahead to pit. So at lap 289, I think the 11 pits first. And Ryan literally leads a lap or two, comes around and then pits. And so green flag pit stop, this is 9.980. I think, was the green flag pit stop the one that was really close to the line?
I think it was early. Maybe it might have been that. Yeah, it might have been that one. And of all the things, I had lots of complaints about the TV coverage this week, but that one scared me because Harvick saw it right away. Like, oh, that's gonna be really, really close. And they did show it. They showed a still image of it on TV, and man, his splitter was basically right on as far as you could go. And I know you shared some photos with us in our Discord too. Video, I think, of that stop itself.
Yeah, I think I had the video.
Part of that was because I believe it was the 8. He had to come around somebody to pit. Yeah. And so that was the unfortunate part. You usually try to pit on a green flag cycle when the person in front of you or behind you, I guess, isn't there. But I think they were reacting to the 11.
They're reacting to the 11, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, man, and we talk about other ways things have been derailed on pit road, and we've had some driver mistakes this year too, and that was about as close as you could get.
Yeah,
but he didn't go over, so it was good.
No, so at lap 295, they come back, and when they kind of cycles out a little bit in their P4, and lap 301 here, the cycle ends up being complete. We're P3 with the 9 being P1 and the 11 being P2, and a lap 311, I have the mystery caution.
Yeah.
The day now TV reported it as something on pit road, right? A piece of brake rotor from the 10 car.
Yeah, it was a brake rotor, and initially they were really zoomed in on it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And then they're like, they'll need a caution for that." And then the camera zooms out, and they show it, and it's behind pit wall, and they're like, "What? Oh!" And then Clint is like, right away, he's like, well, and this is true. He's like, well, when a brake rotor breaks, there's probably something else out on the track.
Yeah,
there very well could be. I mean, Fox's cameras aren't always the best in general of catching regular action, so it could have been pieces elsewhere. But the way it was presented on TV, I can understand a lot of fans being kind of upset.
Well, that's the thing, is like I saw, Taylor was screenshot of this or that, and everybody pointed out it was behind the pit wall. I watched one of the safety trucks pull up. Basically, would have been on the track. Wasn't, it was on the track, probably about across from pit stall 16. Guy got out, ran out to something. He picked something up off the track. TV didn't cover that, I guess. I don't know if it was during their commercials or whatnot. But I saw them pick something up off the track. So was this the something? I don't know. It was out there enough onto the track where people could have ran over it. So, there might have been something there, and TV totally missed that part of it. But this causes everything to be kind of an upheaval, though. So,
but Ryan, what I was saying, things were looking great is the 9 was leading. I wasn't worried about the 9 because I knew the 11 and the 12 would get the 9 eventually on this run.
They're faster.
But the 12, you talked about, he was at like a 3-second deficit or something. He was in the same turn as the 11 when this caution comes out. He was tracking him down relatively fast. And this is and we've seen in the two race wins at Martinsville that Ryan has, there were long runs at the end. and this was going to be perfect. I was like, there's a long run right here. He just needs to get past the 11 right now, and then he'll get past the 9. And if it stays green, he's gonna win this race.
Yeah, that was all I saw. I mean, it was all playing out perfectly. He was faster at the right time. He was in the right position to pass the guy. And like you said, getting around the 9 would have been nothing, because the 9 would have either had to pit at some point because he was just losing way too much time out there, or he tries to hang on for a top 10. Meanwhile, we just go past him. So
brought up the horseshoe. This is the caution they needed. Immediately gives him track position out front, where he'd been running again back half of the top 10 most of the day with just a decent car.
Decent car, not nothing against it. So these pit stops, Ryan's is a 9.10. The 11 is a 9.20. The 9 is a 9.16. They're almost all the same, right on top of each other. So they come off pit road basically the same as what they went on pit road. Biggest difference is the one car decides to, I don't know, I guess they do these things and hope for another caution, and they get one right away too. But it kind of confuses me a little, because all day you finished like 16th, I think, by doing this. So did it really help his race? I don't know. What it did was it caused a little bit of mayhem, because you knew he was on way older tires, and older tires end up being, almost a second slower, maybe even a lot more after a while. So they restart at lap 322 here, and right away, 2 laps later, we get this caution with the 23, the 77, 38, 3, 7, 17, 35, 42, 43, 71, 88, all get in the mix of it somehow, way, shape, or form. From where we were, we couldn't see down that end of the track as well. We were up the front stretch a little bit. So, like, I've watched a replay or two of this. I don't quite understand. A lot of people throw the blame right away at the 23, but I don't know if he got punted into somebody, like a chain reaction thing kind of happened there. I'm not sure.
It was very much the crash itself is very much 100% on Bubba. People were trying to go back a lap or two. It was right after a restart to see if there was anything, or even before that precipitated this. So essentially what happened was, and Denny, we'll talk about Denny's podcast in a few minutes too, but Denny kind of broke this down that, and this is something Hocevar is known for, and it's more of a racing etiquette type thing. And he actually compared it to turn 1 at Coda. He said, when you're in that kind of middle of the pack part at Martinsville and it's a restart, everyone in front of you is going to be woeing down to get into the turn and into turn 1. And instead of doing that, while everyone else ahead of him was slowing down, Hocevar just went bottom 3 at Martinsville, which nobody really ever does, and just blew past everybody and blew past the 23 and just kind of took the spot. So Bubba took issue with that. He bumped him a couple of times through the turn and then just drove through him. I think again, we talked about what happened with Raja. It's like sometimes the aggression in the moment kind of gets a hold of you. Bubba in his post-race said, I meant to hit. I hit him a couple of times and then I misjudged it and spun him out. So he said it was, unfortunate, that kind of a thing. And that's kind of what Denny said too. He's like, he just got a little bit too aggressive there after the first few taps have been fine. But what he said about Hocevar's move was that it was, he called it something else, but he said it was a bad move. I would just say, it didn't follow racing etiquette. Like, that wasn't really a racing move. He was just basically, he compared it to Coda. Everyone else is going to slow down for this turn. I'm just going to go to the bottom and send it in there and see what happens. So, and that's what the 77's kind of known for. So, did he deserve to get cleaned out? Because the problem here is that it damages a lot of other cars. Now, Bubba gets not payback, but he kind of gets his comeuppance because he immediately just destroys the right front of his car when someone was sliding down the track. So,
and like we talked about earlier about the points and what it means for your future, right away, when you see the standings after the race, you're going to see that it hurt him big time. So we get to this next restart here. So we have the 1 on the inside, the 9 on the outside of the front row, the 11 on the inside of row 2, and Ryan on the outside of row 2, and a restart lap 332. Going into 1 and 2, lap 334, the 9 takes the lead off of the 1. So now we got the 1, or the 9 to 1, the 11, and then Ryan is on the outside of the 11. Okay. Now remember earlier I was talking about using a car as a pick. We know the 1 is slower. We know he's on older tires. Ryan is setting this up. And now it doesn't happen in a lap sometimes, especially when guys are fighting hard. It's going to take 2 to 3 laps to do this. But he's literally setting this up where he's going to use that 1 as the pick. He's going to end up screwing up the 11. I don't want to say screw him, but he's going to make it so the 11 has to either do something with the 1 quickly, or I'm going to go past both of them. And the next thing you know, I'm going to be just worried about what happens with me and the 9 the rest of the race. And that's when Denny decides to do what he decides to do. Now, this is why I wanted to ask you. I went back and watched the video first off and watched his in-car, which was interesting. Denny must have had an in-car that was on TV because his in-car camera at that point in time of the race was in the car facing him and his hands from that A-pillar. And he didn't move those damn hands. He just let the car slide. And he adjusted after he hit somebody. The spotter, I don't even sure who the spotter is there. On the in through turns 3 and 4, he says, door, outside, outside, as they come off of 4. He never clears him. I never hear the word clear until after he's run Ryan into the wall. You said you've listened to the podcast. My belief, post-race, we hear all the interviews, and he says, well, I made a mistake, saying the car was tight, loose, whatever BS he made up. Here's my belief. I'm going to go my rant now, all right? And then you can back me off of it however you want to, because I'm not sure he actually apologizes for what he actually did. He did it on purpose. He did it on purpose, and the reason I say he did it on purpose is because he saw what Ryan was about to do. He knew that if Ryan got to his door again by turns 1 and 2, by turns 3 and 4 next time around, he'd be even with him. If he gets even with him by the next lap, he will have passed him because he'll pass the 1 and he'll be stuck behind the 1. What he did was made sure that he didn't have to worry about getting passed on the outside. He put him in the wall on purpose to make sure that the 12 never got past him on the outside because he was afraid that the 12 could do that by pinning him behind the 1. It was on purpose. There was no mistakes made. The car didn't do this or that. Denny decided my most calculated move at this point is to make sure that guy's not there anymore.
Yeah, and I think my initial assumption too was just this fact that he had dominated this entire race. Once sat on the pole, one stage 1, one stage 2. This caution, slightly questionable caution, maybe comes out, derails the whole thing where he was just going to drive away for a win. So he's in desperation mode at this point. He's probably already annoyed at the fact that the 1 has stayed out and is in the way. And then there's immediately a caution. And then he has to restart again. And he's had mentioned, and they'll say post-race that, he and his team and his crew chief walked around the car at the end. They inspected things. They found out the left rear wheel was left slightly loose. And he says that what that caused him is that under braking, the rear end of his car would wiggle. He didn't have as much drive as he did the entire race. So that's part of his problem too. I think he's frustrated by that fact. So my assumption too was 12's my biggest competition. I'm just going to lean on him here, and whatever happens, and I'll move on. So.
Well, it's interesting you point that out. So if he's having this mechanical issue, this explains why he can't get past the 1 at that point either. Yeah. Because the 1 is slower. And he can't get to the 1. In the first 3 turns that they try to do anything, the 9 gets by the 1 easily, and he can't get to the 1's bumper, which tells me everything about what just happened. Because like I said, Ryan was setting it up. Ryan was about 2 good corners away from passing him on the outside and then passing the 1 and the next lap after that on the outside. So you're right on the his post-race stuff. It as each interview went on, and I think after he eventually saw a replay, he got more and more
yeah, that was my fault type of thing.
Yeah.
I think one of the last ones he said, like, I lost control in the turn and I hit him. On his podcast, they went over it, and he basically said he went through like what he was going through. But he said basically the same thing. I went in, and how you said, like, he didn't really try to correct or whatever, probably because if he tried to correct in that, he could have spun out or something. But he said, I lost control going into that turn, and he's like, and as soon as we made contact, he said that was it. I fenced him. Like, like, there wasn't, once they made contact, he basically said there was no going away from that. There was no turning out of that. It was over. And one of his co-hosts, I don't know whether it was the good one or the bad one, said, I forget, said he made the joke like, oh, that's just short track racing. And then he's like, no, he's like, it was a little more than that, is what he said. So he still didn't say I'm sorry. He did say he talked to Ryan after the race. There is a photo of them chatting after the race as well. So, I mean, at least they did have an opportunity to discuss it. None of it changes anything. No. Ryan had a chance. I won't say Ryan was going to win the race, but because the 9, when you have a decent, Denny talks about this too, when you have a decent car and you're out front in clean air, you can sometimes hold off a dominant car at a track like that, especially with how hard it is to pass. So I would say at worst, Ryan was going to finish P3. At best, he was going to win. He could have finished P2 or P2.
He's going to be second. Well, if he continues what he was doing at that point and gets another 5 clean laps in, he's going to be
saying,
second.
like, at worst, he would have finished third, and instead he gets fenced. Luckily, it wasn't catastrophic. He says he thought the toe was knocked out a little bit. He falls back. You'll go through these. Falls back to like 9th, and from there he's just kind of regrouping. And I saw some people say, "Oh, I wish I would have had his radio on when that happened." And I said, "Nope, silent till the end." Silence.
That's the other thing. I just rewatched that part too. I get home and I literally, to do the report, I go back and watch the in-car camera. Nothing was said. It was like he just kept driving. Tim, if anything, was trying to find him a hole basically to get back in there. And literally, he only really got back to 8th when he got slid back there. And he ends up at 8th by lap 340 with the 9 leading at lap 353, passes the 1. The 1 was coming backwards to get to 7th. Like I said, in the next 50 laps, the 1 ends up all the way back to like 16th. At lap 378, passes the 20 to get to 6th. And lap 400, the 9 wins, and he finishes 6th. And he was closing on the 24. Once again, if this race was another 100 laps, it would have been real interesting to see how much further. He could have got a couple more spots probably, because we did notice, I mean, once they got to about the 50 to 70 lap range in a run, he was still running great laps compared to other guys, whether it was in traffic, out of traffic. So the fall race looks promising as usual with that extra 100 laps. Was it the day he deserved? Not really. But was it a great day for a spring race? Yeah, that was one of the best spring races they've had in a long time. He even makes a comment on that on the radio at the finish. A lot of times he'll say something at the finish, and he does say that right away. That it's one of the best springs we've had in a while. So, congratulations, everybody. We did a good job to get there. Everybody, and the crew did a good job. So he says in a post-race interview too that they thought they had about an 8th place car just to begin with, and then it was we improved on it. A couple spots here, a couple spots there. Like I said, I think it would have been great to see him complete that pass on the 11 and the 1, and then see how far behind the 2 he was with that many, with 50 laps to go, to see, because the 11 does get to the 9 within about a second, a couple different times in traffic. But the 11 really can't complete anything or get to where his speed was at the beginning of the race. So whether the damage to the 11 was from the crash, from him walling Ryan, or from the wheel, he definitely doesn't have what it takes to finish the race off. So, kudos to the Chase Sexuals. I'm sure they had a great night last night celebrating the win.
Yeah, and as you kind of said earlier, actually talking about Bozy did like a lot of great analysis of this race between pit road, and then he kind of breaks down the incident between Ryan and Denny too, and says he believes there was wheel-to-wheel contact. So Denny might have been dealing with both rear wheels having some issues, whether on one side it could have been suspension, and on the other side it was the looseness of whatever they had there. And like you said too, Ryan brings it up that this was one of his best spring races in a while. He does have some better finishes in the spring in the next gen car, but sometimes those are just his long run speed kind of getting him some extra positions at the end. I think this was the first time where he had a mix of both. You saw like some good outside of like the one restart, I think before he eventually ends up moving that 97 really early in the race. A lot of really good restarts and just a lot of good speed from the beginning to the end of a run. So, and like I said, I still think under the old package, he could have been even better. So I think they just kind of they got to go back and just turn it up one little bit more of a notch, and then they could have had a dominant day, maybe like the 11 had going for them before that incident. But we had a lot of fun on social media yesterday. There's a lot of other fans kind of commiserating with us and enjoying the fact. I don't like root against Chase or anything. I always kind of just, even though Ryan and Chase are really good friends, to me, I always like built up this rivalry because they came in at the same time and Chase is the most popular driver all the time. But, Ryan got a win before Chase did. Ryan did this before Chase did. Chase got the championship first, but then Ryan matched it. And then now Ryan's been winning more races than Chase recently. So I don't always root for the 9 to win. But in this case, I said immediately to a few people, I'm like, I'm Team Elliott right now because I want basically hashtag anybody but the 11 was kind of where I was on this thing.
There was a good discussion at the tweet up about Chase, and there was a Chase fan standing there defending, but it is so weird sometimes because he does answer media stuff at the track when he has to, and he just seems like he's just there, he's just kind of like, I'm here, I'm doing this, okay, sometimes it's just so weird because when you get a little something extra out of him, it's kind of cool,
You see glimpses, especially in the good times, like for wins and things like that. Like you see his personality come out. I almost feel like, other than that, he just doesn't want to show like being boastful or anything like that. He just kind of tries to stay low key, but in his big moments, he kind of shows that personality, and you can kind of see why he's friends with Ryan and Bubba and these other guys too. So let's talk about the point standings because there are some impacts here based on what happened. Ryan, it ended up being a really good week for Ryan. If he would have won the race, it could have been even better with some 15 extra points. But let's take a look. So Ryan holds the second position for a second week in the row there in the NASCAR Cup Series point standings. He's now 82 points back of Tyler Reddick. Coming into the race, he was 95 points back of Tyler Reddick. So Reddick qualified okay. He ran up toward the front for a little while. By front, I mean like top 10-ish, top 15-ish, and then just kind of faded the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So he didn't get many stage points, if any, and then didn't get a great finish. So Ryan kind of closed the gap a little bit here.
Yeah, think about if you won the race, it's about a 20-point difference. He finished 6th. There's 5 more spots, and then an extra 15 points. A 20-point difference would put him that much closer, but we'll gain on it.
Back to what they were a couple of weeks ago before a couple more 45 wins. Yeah,
he's got a couple more weeks to catch him. He'll catch him. Like I said before, he's going to catch him before the end of the regular season.
But definitely chipping away at it. So I mean, anything where they're bringing that gap down is going to be good. So again, Ryan's second in points overall, 82 points back of the leader Reddick. Hamlin moves up a spot to third. Chase Elliott moves up a spot to fourth. In our season preview, I think we both kind of talked about the 9 team being very dangerous in this format because they can top 10 you to death basically, and they've picked up a win now. If he holds steady in this top 5 in points when it comes to the chase itself, to have a consistent driver who doesn't make a ton of mistakes on track, this might be the opportunity. And again, I'm obviously we want Ryan to win the championship, but if we're looking at competition, I think that Chase, if he doesn't have any issues, if he stays away from the ski slopes or snowboard slopes, has a really great shot in this format to win a second championship. William Byron moved up a spot to 5th. Ty Gibbs, kind of the breakout star of the year without a win. Like he was, I would say, a year removed. Like because last year he took a step back. Now we're kind of seeing what was happening behind the scenes, but up 5 spots. I mean, he's been finishing great every week and not really getting into any trouble. So he's in 6th. Bell is up to 7th. Keselowski is up to 8th. RFK, we've been talking about them the last few weeks, and I bought into the Priest hype. He had 2 straight top 10s, and all of them kind of had a quiet day. The 17 actually kind of got messed up by a mechanical issue caused by some debris on the track that put them a lap down. But yeah, RFK after a few strong weeks were kind of nowhere to be found at Martinsville. Larson, talked about that. Showed up in practice, showed like the long run speed, just like Ryan did, and in the race again, where I don't know where the 5 team was.
Yeah,
they're 9th in points. Buscher's 10th. Bubba falls 8 positions from 3rd to 11th with this decision that he made on track, and it's 2 back-to-back 30th plus place finishes. Prior to that, he was being saved by all the stage points he was getting, but he didn't get much on the day at Martinsville, and then that kind of one decision ends up costing him pretty big time when it comes to the points overall. Teammate Logano is up 4 spots to 12th. They've been on the rise. They had a really rough start to the year, so kudos to them. Priest 13th, Shane Van Gisbergen. Even though he and Ryan had that kind of mini run-in, but he stayed in the top 15 all day long. I know he was kind of really upset with himself at the end of this thing because he finished 11th and thought he deserved to be in the top 10 and just didn't get it done at the end there. But in talking about him said he's the best driver, or that's the best team at Trackhouse right now, and I would agree, the most consistent team. So I don't know what's going on over there, but Zilich is definitely having some rookie struggles. The one is just throwing Hail Marys to try to get track position, but the 97's kind of been in the thick of things all the way through, and people said like this format was going to kill that team, and here they are, solidly in the top 16 right now. Hocevar's
qualified really well.
Yep. 5th.
He started the race in front of Ryan, pretty good.
Hocevar 15th. Suarez is in the last spot right now in 16th, and his teammate is the first one on the outside looking in, McDowell, 17th. Notables outside of that chase cutoff right now: Cindric, Chastain, Allmendinger. Chase Briscoe is slowly moving up, but they were kind of nowhere to be found too. Again, a track that the 19 historically is good at. Kyle Busch, rough day, continues. I don't know. There was a lot of chatter on the radio today and stuff. People just saying. I thought this was the year RCR just went and did a reset with all the competition changes that they've made, and he has a new crew chief. But this is, I think they said, the longest stretch the team has ever gone without a top 10 in a season before. Things are not going great in Welcome, North Carolina. Now.
The tweet up was a long discussion about his press availability on Saturday.
Okay, one more question.
Jeff was at it. He's like, oh, one more, that's it. And it's like, Jeff, how did you have to deal with that? The press availability, I guess, is on the Saturday is anybody who is in the top 20 in points. So he was there at that point, but now I don't think now he'll have to worry about it as much. But yeah, he is just somebody who does not. And then we talked about, like I said, for the next 10, 15 minutes about what happens to him. Where does he go? Is he going to stick around and keep doing this, or is there somewhere that maybe will bail him out so that he can end his career in a better way? Or I don't know. He might just be done.
Yeah, I just don't know. I know. He's won in the next gen. I think he has 4 races in the next gen car. One of them is on dirt at Bristol, though. He won the 3 races right out of the gate with RCR, but if you remember, that was all like the first half of that 2023 season. And then they've just kind of been some good runs here and there, but definitely at least second half of last year all the way through this, it's just been a massive struggle for that team. And you can see it's like, I don't know that he's he hops into a truck and just, he can drive. He knows how to win races. Part of me wishes he would kind of hang it up because no one has still done the trifecta and won a championship in each series, and I always thought with the elimination winner take all, like that was going to hurt him from ever being able to kind of step down before retirement and win a truck championship. But now that the chase is back, I think if he got into a Spire truck full time in the truck series, he could win the championship relatively easily under that format. So I think he needs to do that at some point. But I also think he's had some issues where he might need to pay some bills right now too. So we'll see. We'll see how things go with him. But I mean, Spire was the big rumor for him last year. They originally were targeting him for the 7 car, but the 7 car is performing pretty well so far this year. I don't know. Is McDowell going to retire? Maybe that's a spot.
That's the funny thing is, like, people kept saying about the move's going to be Suarez. Suarez is going to, why does it have to be Suarez right now at Spire? I think it needs to be McDowell. When you look at the 3 teams and the way they're running right now, McDowell's out to lunch. The other 2 are showing the speed that the team has. So I think Suarez could hang on there for a couple of years if he keeps doing what he's been doing.
But everything that we know is that this is going to be one of the biggest silly seasons in the last decade, I think, is kind of what it's been touted like. So we'll have to see where things shake up. But again, in the point standings, Ryan Blaney is on good trajectory, still holding down the 2nd position overall, chipping away at Tyler Reddick's lead, which is now, I don't want to say just 82 points. 82 is a massive lead, but 82 points over Blaney right now in the standings. So one last thing to clean up when it comes to the weekend at Martinsville Speedway, and that is the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. And I am right into my wheelhouse here.
Yeah,
things are clicking away like they normally do, where I'm getting an 83rd place finish on the weekend, dropping back into almost the 40s in the overall standing. So I'm
starting to settle
into my zone here. So let me go through what happened in my lineup this week in Martinsville, because I made a blunder. Now, even without this blunder, I would have still, I think, only finished 40th or so in the overall, which still wouldn't have been great. All right, starters. Byron got me 47 points. Great. Elliott got me 55. Great. Blaney got me 41. Great. I was telling you about being all in on Priest. I started him 26. So
paperclip Punisher.
Bubba Wallace. I was all in on Bubba, and I put him in my lineup before practice and qualifying. I said I always try to set my lineup early in the week just in case so I don't forget. But after practice, I was like, okay. I mean, I know it was just Group 1, but his time still kind of held up. 1 point overall after his issue in the race and finishing 36. Garage, the fellow that for the first time this year got the most points, and the winner did not, was Denny Hamlin. I left him in the garage. 56 points overall for Hamlin. So he gets 1 more point than the winner, Chase Elliott, and that's because of the Xfinity fastest lap. So that's the first time in this newish system, new to us or new to some system, where the chase is back, that the second place driver or someone other than the first place driver has got more points. Yeah. Featured matchups: Reddick over Bell, wrong. Keselowski over Hocevar, right. Byron over Larson, that was right. Wallace over Logano, wrong. So I was 2 out of 4 on the featured matchups. I left Hamlin in the garage. It was good enough for 83rd overall on the weekend out of 90. I don't even know we had 98 or something people after I kicked some out. 190 points. Rough.
I had, see what I have here. I had Reddick, Hamlin with 56 points. Hocevar, that was a problem. I had him in the lineup. I thought he qualified well. I thought he was going to stay up there, and he had the issue. Byron, who was consistently quietly there and finished 5th in the race, so 47 points out of him. And I never had Ryan. So the only thing I had in the garage was Larson. So Larson, if I swap him for anybody, would have got me 10 more points. Not a big difference.
Yeah.
I had Bell over Reddick. I had Hocevar beating Keselowski, and I lost that one. I had Larson over Byron. I thought Larson's times in practice were going to show that he gets a long run going, and that didn't work. I did have Logano over Wallace. I just kind of thought Joey would do what he does here. So I'm not sure what the total. What was it? 212.
Yeah, 70th overall for you. 212 points.
212 points.
So you're back there with me.
Yeah.
So, not a good place to be.
No. I'm catching you.
Yeah, you are catching me in the overall standing. So let's take a look at the top 10 in points earned this week at Martinsville Speedway in the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. And it actually starts off with a 5-way tie for 9th. between the Buckeye Bullet, KJ12, Blaniacal, Blaney or Bust, and Moose Hunter 1960 all scored 260 points on the weekend. Pocono Lady is in 8th, 262 points. 7th was the Daisy Dukes at 263. Penske Fan 24 and hashtag LGM finished in the 5th position at 265. Al 12 Fan was in 4th with 274 points. Pesky Blaney Fan and Factory of Sadness 6th finished 2nd, 275. And the winner this weekend from Martinsville Speedway in the Fantasy League was Blaneyack 10 with 285 points. Overall standings, I've slipped now. There was that week where I was like top 10-ish, then 13th-ish, 35th. So I said, right, kind of back in my comfort zone between, it's like 35th to 45th is usually where I sit all year long. 1,413 points on the year. Let's take a look where you are.
44th.
Oh. Okay.
I'm gaining.
Right. I forgot. Yeah, 44th overall for you, Mez 12, 1,398 points.
15 points back.
Yeah, so not too bad for you. You will pass me and blow past me at some point.
I'm trying to hunt down my wife. She's already up. She's up to 23rd now.
Yep.
1448. So
Not
I got to
too
win
bad.
the household first.
So let's take a look at the top 10 in the overall standings. Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. Moose Hunter 1960 is in 10th, 1,492. We have a tie for 8th between Jerry RF Blaney RF Blaney 12 and Go 12 Go, 1,505 points. So he slipped a little bit the last couple weeks. Bears Motor Club is in 7th, 1,508 points. The Buckeye Bullet is in 6th, 1,534. Blaney or Bust is in 5th, 1,536. 4th is Pit Stop Pro, 1,538. Fike 21 is in 3rd, 1,545. Factory of Sadness 6 is in the 2nd position, 1,554. And your new leader in the league is Zero Schlitz Given, 1,587 points overall. So congratulations to all those folks that have moved up in the top 10 or moved up higher in the top 10 or had a great run at Martinsville. It looks like it's still a fairly tight race. So my goal is to try to stay ahead of you, but I don't know that is going to be really possible. So that brings us now to the first Cup Series off weekend of the season. One of two, and I believe after this week they'll have 16 straight races until the next off weekend. But it doesn't mean NASCAR is dormant this weekend. This is the second year where the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series and the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series are returning to Rockingham Speedway, a track that was dormant for a long time when it came to big-time stock car racing, but it got a repave in the last few years, and they brought some NASCAR races back there. I still don't know that Cup is in the future there, but I'm interested to see what the crowd is like. I know they had a really great crowd last year. Hopefully those folks turn out again. So if you do want to watch some NASCAR racing this weekend, things kick off on Friday, April 3rd. Practice and qualifying for both series happen in the morning and into the afternoon. And then at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, you have the Black's Tire 200 from Rockingham for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. You can watch that streaming on Fox 1, on cable, on FS1, on the radio on the NASCAR Racing Network and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. And then Saturday, April 4th, there is an ARCA race at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, the Rockingham ARCA Menards East 125. You got to watch that on the NASCAR channel, which you can get on various streaming platforms and smart TVs and Tubi and various places there. And you can listen to that on the radio as well. And then 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, you have the North Carolina Education Lottery 250 presented by Black's Tire. You can watch that for the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series on the CW network. So on broadcast TV, MRN, SiriusXM, NASCAR Radio on the radio. So you'll get a little bit of taste of some NASCAR racing this weekend with those two series. And then Sunday will be off. And for those folks that celebrate Easter, they'll be able to enjoy the day with friends, family, and anybody else.
Couple questions for you. On our TikTok channel, you've been doing the live NASCAR 25s. Previewing each race weekend, whatever track NASCAR is going to. This week coming up, are you going to do the Rockingham on the NASCAR 25 and do the trucks and do
That's a good
O'Reilly?
question. I'm fairly sure it's on the game.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was trying to think of what I would do this week, but yeah, I should be able to. That'll be fun because I haven't really done much with the trucks. I'll do the O'Reilly series and stuff on there too. But yeah, that's a good idea. I'm actually messing with my setup for this week. It was going to be a good test week because this is really inside baseball. I'm sure people are really interested in how this works, but I have like a whole podcasting setup of this room, and then behind me where all my memorabilia stuff is, there's my iRacing setup back there.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to shift everything over to the iRacing setup for the streaming side of things. So that way I can add iRacing and probably like dirt stuff. I'll probably do modifieds and sprint cars and that kind of thing to add to our repertoire of things that I can stream on TikTok. So this week I'm kind of upgrading that setup over there to do that. So yeah, it'll be a great week to kind of test that out and do some on the game. It's still the Xfinity series. So if I mess that up, it's okay. But I'll run those cars and then the trucks at Rockingham and kind of see how things go. But man, this last week it was challenging again at Martinsville. Every week I keep thinking, oh, when I get to some normal ovals, it'll be easier after, because I was worried. I dreaded the road course, and now I almost missed Coda because I felt like we're going well there. But yeah,
I don't tune in like every time for the whole time, but I know that some people have been watching a lot. And the truth is, though, is you see the progression. That's kind of the fun part of it, is like watching you. You see the progression of like, okay, I ran a race and then I did some more practice and I'm getting better at figuring out where to brake and where to do certain things. So yeah, I think it's really kind of cool because it kind of shows that learning curve, different tracks and then different cars and so forth. So really cool. My other question was going to be this weekend, the O'Reilly series, Cletus McFarland will be running this O'Reilly's. And I heard one of the podcasts, it might have been the Teardown, they were talking about expectations.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to get, I'll give you my thought here and then I'll ask your thought on the expectations here, because it's a Childress car, first off. So in that series, that's one of the better programs. He got to test there like a whole day. And they do show this one video of him almost wrecking the car coming off of one of the turns. But when you found out that they were like 80 laps into a run on tires there, at that point, they were literally testing him to see what would happen.
Yeah.
If he ran that, when they're never going to run a race that long on a set of tires, but they were literally letting him slip and slide and see how well he drove the car, and he did not wreck it. But my expectations literally are for him to be able to hang on to the lead lap as the race goes along. These races aren't that long. There are cautions in there. I think that he could be a top 20, or should have an expectation of being a top 20. His learning curve is steep and fast, but on the other hand, if he's good enough, he's got the best equipment he's been put in yet. So, and they gave him a day's worth of training at that particular track, and I'm sure he's done sim time since then. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? What do you think he will actually do this weekend?
Yeah, and this is actually an interesting conversation because we were just talking about Richard Childress Racing and being a dumpster fire on the Cup side.
Cup side.
On the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series side, however, they're the reigning champions in the series. Both he and Austin Hill have won several races. Jesse Love have won several races the last few years. So they know what's going on in that series. And part of me thinks it's because RCR is a very old school team. Those cars are still very old school technology cars. And I think that's part of the reason why they excel in that series. So you're right. This is going to be the best equipment in NASCAR, in a stock car, he has ever sat in. This is the most technology that's been behind him. It's been the most resources that he's had. I would agree. If he could hold on to a lead lap finish, that would be amazing. Even if he was just one lap down or something by the end of the race with a clean car. Even if he spun out once and didn't hit anything and collected it back up and then found a way to rebound from that, that's okay too. But I think there is some talent there, and what you've seen in Cletus is a change. When he first got in and he got to Daytona and he got to Talladega, he was really deep into his character, and it was all about just making content and trying to gain even more followers and bring new people to his channel and stuff. And I think that relationship with Biffle and then him getting some more experience, you can tell he wants to be a real race car driver now. And that's why he's hooked up with a real race team now that's going to give him that opportunity. So I think you're talking about the teardown. I think Jordan basically just said to have a race where no one even knows you're out there and you finish and you're clean and you don't crash. Like, to me, I think I think he should not race it. It's going to sound weird. Like, I don't want him to like race anybody. I want him to just get comfortable driving the car.
Race
and
the
then
track.
once you're able to do that, then try to make some more passes and things like that. I think he's going to have to, because his equipment will be better than some other guys. But I kind of agree with that. Just have a clean race, run all the laps, and then go from there. But that's kind of the expectation. But hey, as far as TV ratings go, this is going to be, it's an opportunity for the series. They have a standalone race. There's no cup this weekend. They are the highest level that is running on the weekend there at Rockingham. The ratings have been really good on the CW, and I think Cletus has an opportunity to bring even more eyes to that race.
If you have the CW app, the app does a couple in-car cameras. I don't know how it's going to be set up with him, but I would think that he would either be on the app, or NASCAR in the truck series let him have the NASCAR YouTube channel. So he's one that doesn't mind having that on there. So that's something to look out for too. Is like, he may have an in-car type of thing, which is great because you get to hear all of it, and he's very outgoing. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm rooting for him in a way, because there's something we talked about before with him where some of the interviews you get Cletus, and then some of the interviews you get the actual person. And I think the more we get the actual person, the more I root for him. Cletus is this persona. Cletus has built this empire of YouTube and the things at his track. But the reality is the real person is the one who's going to drive the car. And the humility he showed after, what happened with Daytona this year kind of shows me that he really is serious about it. And hopefully that's what we see this weekend.
Yeah, and I hope for success as well. I mean, he's a Florida guy now. I don't really know exactly where he grew up, but he's down here now. He saved a racetrack down here that I go to. I think his interest in stock car racing is actually going to bring more circle track racing there, because when he initially bought the old DeSoto Speedway and turned it into the Freedom Factory, it was more about burnouts and crazy Crown Vic stunts and jumping buses and things like that. With a few races here and there from the circle track series around the state. But you're going to see more and more big late model races there. I know he's buying his own late model right now, so that's awesome to me. So I hope he continues to find success in this world to keep bringing that place up. And I tell you what, he took an old track that was run down, and you go down there, and outside of the track surface itself is a little patchwork, but the facility is fantastic. He's put a ton of money into it, and it looks great. So kudos to him, everything he's doing. We wish him the best for sure. The NASCAR Cup Series, the next time they're on track is in a couple of weeks at Bristol Motor Speedway. I'm not going to go through a whole preview and stuff, but I know that's one of those places, and who knows, maybe we'll have another show between there where we can do it. But a place that owes Ryan Blaney, a place that he's won at in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and the Craftsman Truck Series. We would like to see him get the career sweep there. And with the speed that they have, someone in our Discord was kind of talking about everything this year, and they're saying, it's unfortunate he didn't win this race, but they're most proud of this team this year because they've just had incredible speed every week. And we saw that last year, pretty consistent. And I feel like in 2026, they've turned it up a notch to where last year it was like pretty much guaranteed top 10 speed every week. And I mentioned, I was like always the best Ford, almost always the best Penske car. This year, it's like top 5, top 3 speed almost every week. And even improvement on the road course at COTA too, where it was basically, like top 10 speed. So you just got, I said it already, you got an elite driver, you have an elite crew chief, you have an elite team. There's plenty of things that they can clean up to win a championship, but things are looking up, I think, when it comes to the 12 crew and their trajectory for the rest of the year. But I think that's it. I think that's all we have for this episode 222 of the Team Blaney podcast. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in, especially those that have been watching live on Facebook, YouTube, and our TikTok channel. You can do that yourself on Monday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. We record this show live. So if you're listening to the audio version and you want to see our wonderful faces, you can do that as well. You can watch the recorded version on the YouTube later on too. During the week and on race day, you can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search for Team Blaney. We'd also like to encourage you to support the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Ryan's official charitable organization benefits brain health causes like UPMC Sports Medicine and the Alzheimer's Association. To learn more, visit ryanblaneyfamilyfoundation.org or follow them on Facebook, X, Instagram, and check out their new YouTube channel as well. So for my co-host, Steve Mez, I'm Adam Rogers. We'll catch you next time right here on the Team Blaney podcast.
Good night, Roanoke. Check out the TikTok.